And you think about how much she not only went through on the show, but brought to the show. When she came on, she was with AJ. He, between filming our first season and shooting the reunion, was killed.
Wow.
She lost him. Mama Joyce was disapproving of AJ in her first season. This was season 2 of Atlanta. It was Kandi's first season. She also, in those early seasons, did the music and wrote Tardy for the Party, which has become, canon. I mean, it's just iconic to the moment.
From chart-topping hits to reality TV fame, Kandi Burruss has lived much of her life in the spotlight. But behind the glamour is a heartbreaking truth her family just confirmed. Her cousin Melvin, someone she deeply loved and considered more like a little brother, was the victim of a shocking and violent incident. He was shot inside their family-owned restaurant, Blaze Steak and Seafood. And what makes this even harder to process, it was allegedly by another employee. Melvin worked closely with Kandi and Todd, and if you've watched any of their reality spin-offs, you've probably seen his quiet loyalty in the background. What's worse is that Kandi was the one who had to publicly confirm the shooting. She stayed composed, but you could see the pain in her eyes. And as fans tried to make sense of the tragedy, it also sparked conversations around how much pressure and trauma Kandi's had to silently endure, especially when trying to balance being a boss, a mother, a wife, and a protector of her family legacy.
I've heard from my best friend's cousin, that apparently she was told that he didn't know that they were supposed to be set up for that purpose too. I guess he thought, he was just genuinely going on a date with her, but it was his publicist that brought them together and reached out to Freddie O to have the pictures taken.
Kandi Burruss was born on May 17, 1976 in College Park, Georgia, just outside of Atlanta. She grew up in a family where music wasn't just a hobby, it was a part of life. One of her first breaks came when she appeared as a teenager on BET's Teen Summit, a platform that spotlighted Black youth and gave her early exposure to a national audience. She was confident and showed signs of someone meant to lead. While still attending Tri-Cities High School, a school known for its performing arts program, Kandi linked up with the R&D group Escape. Even before graduation, her talent and hustle stood out. It wasn't just about being famous. Kandi had a clear vision for herself, and her family stood behind her every step of the way. But behind the bright lights of her rising career was a personal tragedy that would forever change the course of her life. Before the awards, the platinum plaques, and the reality TV cameras, there was Patrick Riley. Kandi's older brother, born in 1968, Patrick was 8 years older than Kandi and served as more than just a sibling. He was her protector, her role model, and someone she looked up to deeply during her childhood. Their bond was unshakable. Patrick was known to be creative and full of energy, just like Kandi. He had dreams of his own, and his confidence inspired her to go after what she wanted, even as a young girl. They shared laughs, ideas, and a unique bond that only siblings understand. Kandi often mentioned how Patrick pushed her to dream bigger, even when she didn't know how far she could go. But everything changed on June 17, 1991. Patrick was on a trip to Mexico when tragedy struck. He was killed in a car accident, and Kandi, just 15 years old at the time, was left completely devastated. It wasn't just losing a brother, it was losing her best friend, her anchor, her cheerleader. The pain of his loss didn't go away, it just became something she had to live with. She was forced to grow up faster, emotionally and mentally. Instead of spiraling, though, Kandi channeled her grief into focus. Music became an outlet, a way to express the emotions she couldn't always say out loud. For someone so young, losing someone so central left a deep scar. But even in that pain, Kandi made sure Patrick's legacy lived on. When she later had a daughter in 2002, she chose to name her Riley, a heartfelt tribute to her brother's memory. That name choice wasn't just symbolic, it was a daily reminder that even in loss, love continues. Patrick's death was a turning point. It reminded Kandi early on that life was fragile, and it made her more determined than ever to succeed. not just for herself, but in honor of him. Every major step she's taken carries a piece of Patrick's influence. Kandi found ways to carry Patrick's memory into every stage of her life, but tragedy wasn't done knocking on her door.
I'm only focused on me and what I got going on. That's where I'm at right now, because I'm like, time shows improves, honey. Time shows improve.
By the time Kandi Burruss joined the Real Housewives of Atlanta, fans got a front row seat not just to her career, but also her personal life, especially her relationship with Ashley A.J. Jewell. AJ wasn't just a love interest, he was her fiancé, and for a time, Kandi truly believed he was her forever. Their relationship had its share of ups and downs. AJ came into Kandi's life with a complex past, including multiple children from previous relationships. That dynamic created some real tension, especially with Kandi's mom, Mama Joyce, who made it clear she wasn't thrilled about the match. On the show, viewers saw those uncomfortable conversations play out, where Joyce questioned AJ's intentions and stability. Still, Kandi stood by him. She wanted love on her own terms. But just as the couple was trying to work through those challenges, tragedy struck. On October 2, 2009, AJ was involved in a violent altercation outside of a strip club in Atlanta. Reports say the fight started between AJ and an employee of the club. During the confrontation, AJ sustained severe head injuries and was rushed to the hospital. Not long after, he was pronounced dead. Kandi's world was rocked yet again. Initially, the reports made it seem like the head trauma from the fight caused his death, but the Fulton County Medical Examiner later revealed something more complicated. Though AJ did suffer blunt force trauma, the cause of death was ruled to be complications from sickle cell anemia, which had been aggravated by the physical fight. So while the injuries didn't directly kill him, the fight triggered a serious internal crisis his body couldn't recover from. For Kandi, this wasn't just a breakup, it was a permanent goodbye. She had loved AJ deeply, even through their challenges. In interviews and social media posts following his death, she was open about the pain, calling the moment devastating and saying it left her completely numb. Fans saw a more vulnerable side of her, a side that wasn't about business or music or image. It was just a woman hurting. At his funeral, Kandi sang "Sweetest Goodbye" in his honor. That was one of the most raw and emotional moments fans witnessed. She didn't shy away from her grief. She faced it publicly, honestly, and with so much strength.
Sheree is dating Martell Holt.
I don't want her to be in a situation where it feels like, where she's being used for publicity. Earlier this year, and I gotta be honest, a family friend of mine who was on another reality show hit me up to go out on a date with him at Blaze and was like, oh, could you have another table open for us because we're gonna have somebody taking our pictures and videos so that they could post it and da-da-da-da, like this was something they had. And I was like, okay. But no blog really posted, only like one place posted it. But my whole point was, now that I see this similar situation, I'm like, is he doing this, or like, is he being genuine, or is he doing the same thing that he...
As Kandi tried to pick up the pieces, grief returned, this time impacting not just her heart, but her family's legacy. Just when fans thought Kandi might be finally catching a break, a new wave of tragedy hit her family, this time involving a recent family confirmation that sent shockwaves through those closest to her. Kandi's cousin Melvin, who had been like a younger brother and even worked with her at their family's restaurant, Blaze Steak and Seafood, was shot. Yes, shot. And not by a stranger, but reportedly by another employee during an argument that escalated way too fast. It happened in the back of the restaurant, somewhere Kandi had poured not just money, but heart into. The whole vibe of the place was about family. So for violence to break out there, it was a different kind of pain. According to sources close to the Burruss family, Melvin survived the gunshot wound, but the emotional scars are still fresh. And for Kandi, who has already buried a brother and a fiancé, the fear of losing someone else she loves was overwhelming. This incident just shook her, it shook the entire family. Fans noticed Kandi's usual upbeat tone on social media took a shift. She didn't post as much, and when she did, the energy was more subdued. No long captions, no deep reflections, just quiet. But silence doesn't mean she wasn't hurting. Family and close friends shared that Kandi was taking time to heal and protect her peace. This wasn't about making statements or spinning headlines. It was about keeping her people close and doing what she always does, survive. And what this really shows is that fame doesn't protect you from pain. Kandi has Grammys, hit records, and reality TV fame, but when the people closest to her are hurt or gone, all that fades to the background. This update also gave fans a moment to reflect on how much she's really been through and how much strength it takes to keep going, to keep smiling, and to keep building despite so many personal storms. For someone who has faced tragedy with such grace, Kandi's strength seems endless, but even she has moments of vulnerability.
Well, okay, so everybody knows that this year, they took like a few extra months between the season to figure out what they wanted to do with the cast.
How long do they normally take to tell? So this is the announcement of the cast, right?
Right.
Okay.
Normally, after we finish the reunion, people get their letters to know, that they're going to pick up and go to the next season or not, right? But they were like, oh, well, we got to figure some things out. And so during that time, people know I work all the time anyway.
Right.
But, I did have some other movie opportunities, a lot of other things that were happening that I can't even talk about. And I was just like excited about being able to spend more time with my family, but working and not being stressed and having to argue and go back and forth with people.
Through everything, Kandi Burruss has never stopped moving forward. Instead of letting tragedy define her, she's used it as fuel to build a career and life that's nothing short of powerful. She first rose to fame with the R&B group Escape, showing the world she had a voice and vision that stood out. But what many forget is that even at the height of that success, Kandi was still mourning her brother Patrick. She was only a teenager when she joined the group, still carrying the weight of that loss. But music gave her an outlet, and she didn't stop there. Kandi made history as a songwriter, penning hits like DLC's No Scrubs and Destiny's Child. She turned her pain into lyrics that connected with millions and got a Grammy for it. And then came The Real Housewives of Atlanta, where she brought not just drama, but business savvy and heart. She didn't just chase fame, she built empires. From Bedroom Kandi, her adult toy line that empowers women, to Old Lady Gang, the restaurant honoring her mother and late aunts, Kandi has created businesses rooted in family and legacy. And yes, she even stepped onto the Broadway stage, co-producing shows like The Piano Lesson, proving that no industry is too big for her ambition. But through all of that, Kandi never forgets the one she's lost. She still visits her brother Patrick's grave, sometimes sharing moments with fans online, and often keeping the traditions he loved alive in quiet ways. Her daughter Riley, named after Patrick, is a constant reminder of that bond, and of how Kandi keeps her brother's spirit close. She's also spoken about how her pain made her more focused, more intentional, and more determined to leave something meaningful behind. Her strength isn't loud, it's steady, and that's what makes her story hit so hard for so many people. It's not about being perfect, it's about surviving, growing, and building something beautiful out of the broken pieces. Kandi's story isn't just about loss, it's about legacy and how one woman turned unimaginable grief into generational strength. If this story touched you, don't forget to like, subscribe, and drop a heart in the comments to show your support for Kandi and her family. That's it for today. See y'all in the next one.